games in someday, a couple, and the rest of you just want to understand what's going on. Excellent. Is there anybody who's over 30 years old? Excellent. Anybody who's over 25? A few. So most of you are between about 16 to 25, which is roughly the right target audience for me. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's midday, but assembly time, this is of course the morning. My name is Jussi Laakkonen, and I work at Bugbear Entertainment as the company's business development director. What that means basically, at Bugbear, I'll be doing recruiting decisions, so if you ever want to work at Bugbear, you probably will be talking to me sooner or later. So now you will learn all my secret tricks of making you trip in the job interview. No, just kidding. So, welcome, and today we're going to talk about basically what the game industry is. Because if you don't yet work in games and you want to, you need to first understand what you're getting into, what kind of jobs there are available. Then we're going to talk about how you can become somebody the game developer would like to employ, to hire you. What do you need to do to be a really good candidate? Then I'm also going to talk about how to do well in interviews, how to apply, and how to follow up. But basically the meat of my presentation for those of you who won't be applying tomorrow will be to understand what the games industry is and what kind of jobs are available and how you can make yourself more valuable when you want to apply for the jobs. So the first three sections I would ask you to pay more attention to. The rest, if you're not applying tomorrow, well, you can take it with a grain of salt. How many of you have heard of Bugbear Entertainment? Whoa, okay, cool. Let me give you a summary of Bugbear. Bugbear is a Finnish games developer. We believe we are one of the leading driving games developers. We employ about 40 people, and we were founded over 6 years ago. We are based just about a kilometer that way, so very, very near here. We released a number of games. The most prominent of these is the Flatout series. Flatout 1 was released a year and a half ago and has sold 1 million units, which is a bona fide hit title. Basically, it means that it's one of the best-selling games from Finland in the last couple of years. Flatout 2 was just released, and it's an arcade destruction racing game, and it's available for PS2, Xbox, and PC now at stores. We've done a number of other games, and what we specialize in is creating original IP. How many of you do know what's original IP? Okay, some of you. So IP means intellectual property. Basically, something intangible that you can own. And original IP means basically that we come up with new game ideas. We try to think of new games instead of making the Colin McRae 2, 3, 4, 5 or Need for Speed DDDDD. We try to come up with new, interesting ideas. We develop on multiple platforms. We have pretty good technology. We focus on driving games to achieve world-class quality. And I work as the company's business development director. Basically, what I do is I work with the publishers, try to get us some money. I work with the press, try to get us some publicity. I do some process improvements, I do some games visioning, I do some project management, and I also fill in the company dishwasher when I feel like it. So games. Games are a big business. In 2004, the software sales in games industry in the United States alone topped about 7.3 billion US dollars. Europe sales also pretty high. Finland employs, how much was it? How many people do we employ in Finland? How many people are employed in Finland?
1,000 around.
Yeah, this person knows because he did the research on that. There's a common hype that games are bigger than movies. That's bullshit, basically. Games exceed the box office receipts, eli lippukassatulot. The money what the movies make in the when they go to the box office, people go to the movies and see the movies. But movies also get money from DVD sales, TV shows, and that kind of stuff. So games are really big, but not as big as movies. And the big thing to note about that is that console is the biggest market by far. So it would be very good for you to understand what the games market basically consists of. The main green line there shows you where do games come from before they reach you, the gamer. Firstly, there are developers like us. We make games. There are publishers who finance games. Here's a big wad of money, go make me a game. There's console vendors or mobile carriers who control what kind of games can be released, and they also make the hardware. There are distributors who basically just move boxes, and then there's retailers like Untitled where you can go and buy the game. So this is the value chain, and there's a number of other players involved. But this is good to understand that the games industry is larger than just a developer. There's a lot more involved in there. And I would say that the most interesting places are the developers, the publishers, and the console vendors. Mobile, PC, and online games market is pretty similar to the console games market, except that in mobile games, the carriers, the Soneras, the Elisas of the world, and the Vodafones take the role of the console vendors. So instead of Sony, you have Vodafone. For PC games and online games, there is no central authority. So anybody can release PC games. You can go and do a new PC game like we do in the game development competition. But you cannot do it for a Sony console because Sony will need to approve you first. They will need to approve your game and do a lot of things before you can release a game for a PlayStation. Okay. Roughly then about Finnish games industry, how many of you are Finnish? Okay, so a lot of you. The best place to look up all the Finnish companies is the recently released research, which the aforementioned gentleman was just produced. And you can go to igda.org at this address to find most of the Finnish games companies. Basically in Finland, you have a bunch of very good but pretty small mobile developers. There are a few large ones like Sumea or Digital Chocolate and Mr. Good Living. There are a couple of console/PC developers. There's Remedy, of course, everybody knows Remedy. Great guys. There's us, Housemarque, Frozenbyne, and Farmind. This is all the only developers I know of Finland who are doing console games or high-end PC games at the moment. There are a bunch of others, but these are the big names. And there's a very few mobile publishers in Finland. There's basically Nokia, Digital Chocolate, Mr. Good Living, and some other mobile players like Rovio. There's no console, no PC publishers in Finland. For those, you need to go to UK, France, or United States. Okay, so that was a very rough introduction rapidly to the games market. If you want to understand more about the games market, I recommend you go to gammasutra.com and read up. Because if you want to be in games, you should understand the overall picture of what's going on. But now let's then go back to the level of people, you guys. So everybody wants you. Games industry is growing hugely. It's just expanding. In UK, if you read a UK game developer magazine, it's basically half of the pages are ads that we want people. If you're good, hire. We are hiring. Come to work with us. Lots of money, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's short for people. So there's a huge demand for people, especially abroad, but also in Finland. We are currently recruiting for 5, 6, 7 people. Quite a few others like Sumea is growing rapidly. So there's definitely demand. Not for hundreds of people in Finland, but every year for tens of people will be employed more in the games industry. Overall, it will amount to 100 or 200 a year, perhaps, and it will grow very rapidly. So there's definitely jobs to be had. In my presentation, I'm going to focus on game developers because that's what I know. But I'm going to touch upon publishers also. So, game developers is where the action is. That's where you get to do all the cool stuff. At the game developer, basically, we come up with an idea. Hey, why don't we do a game where we crash a lot and throw the guy out? Woo, okay, that's flat out. And then we go and try to sell it. Hey, here's a good game. Do you want to sell it? The publisher, do you want to give us money so we can make this game? And then we make it. So it's a very entrepreneurial place where you get ideas. Maybe we do a game like this. You get to do a lot of creative stuff. And that's what I like about game development. It's hard and it's tough, but you do a lot of cool creative stuff. Okay, so if you want to be a game developer, there's basically 4 archetypes of roles. There's a producer, there's a designer, or types of designers, there's artists, and there's programmers. And in addition to this, you have sound people, you have script writers, you have whomever, but these make the bulk of the company. And each of these has specializations within them. So you might be a network programmer, or you might be a physics programmer. But basically, this is the type of roles you're going to find in the company. The publishers, I'm not really going to talk about much about that because there's so few publishers in Finland. But basically, the publishers, they have a set of money, they will invest it in a game, and they will hope it will become a hit. And they will do their most to maximize their output, to make them a lot of money from that investment, and to control that nobody's going to spend the money on women and drinks and whatever. So if you like control, if you want to keep the lowly game developers like me under control, then you want to work at a publisher. But if you want to do the creative shit, then you want to work at a game developer. Anyway, there's also good roles at publishers. There's producers, basically the counterpart of the game company's producer. So these two guys work together to make sure the game gets done. And then there's a quality assurance role, which is a typical entry-level job. However, there are not that many tester positions in Finland available. But typically in the UK and the larger countries, if you want to get started in games development and you have no experience whatsoever, you typically become a games tester. And then you have a burnout and you go have a life. Or if you don't have a burnout, then you maybe become a designer or producer or whatever. But it's a hard job. Okay, this is how a game developer of roughly 30 to 40 people looks like. There's a managing director, the big guy. Typically the guy who founded the company. He who took his own mortgage, hänen omakotilainansa, and put the money into the company. The guy who took the risk and founded the company. He's typically the managing director because he cannot let go. It's too small, it's his company. He's still running the show. Then you have a business geek like me. Let's go and sell games. Yes, we need to have some money. You have some admin people, you have somebody going to the shop and buying coffee for the people, some bananas when you have code monkeys. Ooh, you need to have some bananas. So you have some admin. Then you have producers, those people who try to make sure that things work. They might be called project managers in the traditional sense of things, but in games development it's typically called producer. Then for each discipline, you have a director. An art director looks after the artists and the level designers. You have a technical director who looks after the programmers. You have a lead designer looking after the game design. I'm going to go through these roles in more detail in a moment. It's a very traditional, functional-based organization. Very boring even, I would say. So some companies have a matrix organization or they have something else, but this is very typical that there is some guy who's very good in art, he becomes the art director, and he knows nothing about managing people. So it goes all to hell before they hire a real personal manager. So the typical problem with game developers is that if you're really good at something, you become a director, you start managing people, and you know nothing about managing people. You're a very good programmer, but how can I manage people? He doesn't come to work. What I will say to him? So watch out for these kind of people. You need to replace them with a proper manager. Rant. Here is Rod Ferguson. Rod is producing Gears of War. Who knows what Gears of War is? Shame on the rest of you. Shame. If you want to be in games, you need to know what Gears of War is. Gears of War is from Epic Games, the maker of Unreal Tournament, and so many other games. And it's their new game for Xbox 360. It's going to be huge. Like huge as in like this large. So if you don't know about Gears of War, you need to learn because you need to keep in touch with the games industry. If you want to work there, you need to start following the news. You need to know what's going on. Otherwise, you're not interested. Why do you want to work? Why do you want to be in movies if you don't love movies? If you want to be a game developer, love them games. Play them games, read the news. Okay, Rod here is a bear of a man. He helps the team to achieve his goals. How many of you think the producer works like this? You will do this. No. The producer's role is like this. If you guys would be coming over here through these chairs, if I'm the producer, my task is to take the chairs away and let you guys through. The producer's task is not to command people. It's to help people to do their best. And this is a common misconception. He's not a movie director. Camera 1, camera 2, pan here, go there. No. He makes sure that people come to work. He helps them to achieve their goals. If they have personal trouble, he talks to them. If they're missing the schedule, he helps them to get back to the schedule. He lets them know they're doing a good job or a bad job. He's your friend, he's your coach, he's your worst enemy. He definitely is not a dictator. So producers are very, very hard to find. We are looking currently for at least one producer. And they are very hard. It's a very personal, sensitive role. It depends on your people skills, your communication skills. You need to be very tactful. You need to understand the motivations of people. It's very, very mixed role. Basically, for a producer, you need to understand the whole picture. Roughly, what do the programmers do? What do the artists do? How do we get the games done? What does the marketing want? It's a jack of all trades role. So you need to understand the overall picture if you want to be a producer. So to become a producer, if you are not a programmer, if you're not an artist, I would recommend start with testing, start with design, and do project management. And there, roughly build your understanding and get to production. So, who knows who this guy is? My God, if you do not know who Shigeru Miyamoto is, I will slap every one of you silly before you learn. This is the guy who made Mario. Who knows who Mario is? Good! Excellent! A good class. So, Shigeru Miyamoto is the guy who dreamed up Mario, dreamed up Donkey Kong, and a number of other excellent games. A design legend. Game designers basically dream up worlds. They dream up rules for those worlds. So if I'm a game designer, I might be looking a little funny. Might be walking around in my mind saying, maybe it's going to be like this or like that. Typically, people come to game design from like playing role-playing, so game masters. They are people who like to create worlds in their minds. They might like to write, or they might love rules. Roll 6 dice and add together and bonus 5. And they need to maybe understand some statistics to make this all work. So they make up the rules and they make up the ideas. For designers, you have a number of specializations. You might be a level designer. Basically, 5 troops there, a military troop there, a tank there, the goal is there. How do you get there? You might want to make the scenario work in an RTS game. Or if you are a first-person shooter game, I'm going to put the enemy there. He's going to look out and shoot. So he puts these guys all in place. He puts all the triggers in place to make sure that the scenario works. So that's a level designer. A game designer works, okay, if this is a World of Warcraft game, if you pick up these items, here's your crafting path. So you can put these things together to become another item. So he makes up all these rules. When you play the game, I need 5,000 gold to buy this epic mount. He's the guy who made that 5,000 rule. So the game designer is the guy you can blame if it's too expensive. And for a game, if you want to be a game designer, you need to be quite creative. You need to be able to formulate whys and whats and hows, and you need to be able to look at your own work and say, oh, that sucks. Let's take a new take. And you need to understand what fun is. You really need to understand what makes fun. And you need to play a hell lot of games. Okay, Sami Vanhatalo, probably only a few of you know Sami. Sami is one of the Remedy guys. I couldn't really find a lot of pictures of artists, so I took Sami, who I know very well. So, artists do 2D art, 3D art, objects, vehicles, whatever, animation, user interfaces. So if you're good in drawing, if you do great graphics, this is a role you're going to find yourself in. However, you might be specialized. You might be just doing user interfaces, you might be doing concept graphics, you might be animator, you might do just vehicles. Or you might be a generalist. Who knows? But basically to become an artist, well, you need to be a damn good artist. So go do 3D. That's the only way to get that. And I think you should definitely have traditional art skills. If you're very good in drawing, that helps. It shows that you can understand the spaces, you can understand forms and how things work. And if you want to be an art director, you need to have an eye for style. It's not just a drawing, you need to think of the whole of the picture. How do shadows and lighting work? What kind of tones of color do we want? And definitely you need to be quite creative to be an artist, but that goes more or less without saying. Who knows who John Carmack is? Okay, a lot of programmers here, good. John's the guy who did Doom and Wolfenstein. I never met him, probably never won't. I met Tim Sweeney, who was the guy behind Unreal, and he's a cool guy. John is quite reclusive, though. Anyway, programmers, how many of you are programmers? Good, excellent. We need more programmers. Well, to be a games programmer, I think the biggest difference to being an applications programmer is the hacker spirit. You need to be able to come up with new solutions. Nobody's done the thing you're doing before. You need to really be quite creative in programming. You need to learn more. You need to study all the time. You need to invent new stuff. And sometimes you just hack it together. Doesn't have to be very nice looking. Ship the fucker. Get it done. So it's not always very elegant. But to be a games programmer, personally, I think it beats the hell out of programming Corba or programming COM applications or, say, bank applications. Games programming can be a lot of fun. You can be very creative in games programming. Typically, you will specialize in something like graphics, physics, networking, but you don't have to. You can be a generalist. Okay, Barry. I don't know who Barry is. I just took it from image search in Google. Sorry, Barry. Anyway, he's a lead QA somewhere. Testing is very, very, very damn hard. I don't want to be a tester because I don't have the mindset. You really need to be able to hammer the game over and over and over and over and over again until you are so tired of the game that you would not want to do anything else with it than to throw it at some ducks in a pond. You play so much that it sucks the life out of you. So personally, you should do testing if you want to get into games, but you should try to get away from testing quite rapidly. Unless you are that type of a person, which we really need, who is not just a tester, but has a mindset of a developer. Then you can become a lead QA, and these are very valuable guys. But if you are in an entry-level tester, they're just going to grind you mindless hours before you die. So either you move up or you move out. But you don't want to be an entry-level tester for your life. Trust me, you don't. Okay. That was basically the jobs there are. How many of you think you found a role in there that might fit you? How many of you didn't find anything that interests you? Okay, well, I don't have to ask you to leave then. Good. Okay. So how to become a great candidate? Now this is a trick question. How do you become a good games developer? Does anybody know? How do you become a good games developer? You must know. Please. Excellent! Applauses for the guy in the red shirt. Seriously, how do you become a good guitar player? Playing the guitar. How do you learn to do whatever you do? You do it. That is the only way to learn. Seriously. If you take one thing out of this lecture, take that. If you want to do games, do games. If you don't do games, don't bother. Seriously. Okay. There are reasons why. I will come to this shortly. But before I go into that, I want to show you a hobby project. Or not really a hobby project, but a project which is a mod, which people in the Oulu University did. This is Air Buccaneers. So while we're watching this, the big thing to take away is how many of you know what Unreal is? Unreal Tournament. You know, it's a science fiction shooter. Guys running around with plasma guns, boom, boom, and jumping like this, boom, boom, and shooting again. Does this look anything like Unreal Tournament? Nothing like Unreal Tournament. But this is Unreal Tournament's engine. It's done with Unreal Tournament's tools. Basically freely available tools. You have a ready game engine and you start doing stuff with that. That's the whole idea. It's easier than making your own game. Yeah, I think that's enough of that. So the big idea here really is you need to start doing games as a hobby. If you want to be in games, do games. Get involved in game mod projects. Use game world editors. Do game art. It's very different than doing, you know, just a picture for assembly competitions than to doing an in-game character or in-game vehicle. It's a different kind of stuff. Making demos and making graphics for assembly competitions is very good. That's a good way to learn stuff. But if you want to really learn about games, you should do game stuff. So basically, for each one of you, if you want to be a producer, go to a game mod project and say, I want to help organize this. Most of the game mod projects die because there's nobody looking after it. You might have an artist, you might have a programmer, so nobody's looking after it. They are desperate for producers. Go do producing. Do emails. Call the guy, why aren't you coding? You should be coding and we have a deadline. Go help out. If you want to be an artist, use the game world editors. You can get a Far Cry editor, you can get an Unreal editor. Learn how to use this. Do game art, do a character, do a vehicle. You say they have polygon count limits, they have texture limits, they have to look good when they move around, you do have to animate. It's very different from doing a static object into a scene and rendering it. You need to understand how the game uses the rendering machine. It's very different than just doing a CGI one static shot, because you can fake so much in one shot. In games, you just cannot fake because the player can move around and look it from a different direction. If you're a programmer, go get a game engine. Look at it, how it's built. What does it do? How does it work? What has it eaten? There's so many game engines available, like Doom 2. Go get the source code, look at it. John Carmack, the guy who everybody knew of you, he has given his source code away. You can do anything you want with it. Go and have a look at it. This is a brilliant guy. He's a freaking genius. You can definitely learn something from that. At least to comment your code, if nothing else. And if you want to be a games designer, hey, all you need is basically a piece of paper. Here's my game idea. Let's start thinking about it. It's very easy. All you need is basically a PC and a network connection and you're ready to go. So seriously, get involved in games if you want to do games. So how many of you are passionate about games? Do you want games? Yeah! Say yeah! Yeah! Way! Rock! Excellent. Do you want to do games for a living? Yeah! Excellent. If yes, start doing it now. How many of you have ever been involved in a games mod project? Good, excellent. You're in the right path. If you do it as a hobby, not only do you learn, but you get an understanding whether you really want this. Don't waste your life on something you don't want. Maybe you want to do CGI for say, marketing movies, for ads. Maybe you want to program a database application. Maybe you want a stable job, a wife and a kid. Well, I do have all of those, and, and a life. Maybe you don't want to do games. But if you do it as a hobby, you will learn whether you want it or not. You're young, you can make a mistake, but at my age, you want to do something you really like. And you can learn this way if you really want it, or you don't. You get skills that are very valuable. Even if you don't want to do games for a living after this, if you're a programmer, you learn a lot. If you're an artist, you learn a lot. Basically, it's a good hobby. And if you come to me in an employment situation, hire me. I have done this and this and this and this to become good. You will show me that you are serious. You're not just some Jack and Joe saying that, Yes, I know that games development is cool and I want to play games all day and I want to make a lot of money. Yeah, okay, here's the door. So this shows the employer that you're serious. And what even better, do a games mod of that company where you want to work at. You want to work at Valve, you want to do Half-Life 3, start modding Half-Life 2. They just hired a bunch of people who did the Portal thing. Do you know what Portal is? Valve's Portal. They just hired those guys out of fucking school and said, come to Valve, we give you millions of dollars, lot of people, and start doing your game here. Like, okay, let me think about it twice. Seriously, if you want to do Half-Life 3, start modding Half-Life 2. Okay, and what most important, you get portfolio. If you come to me and say, I'm the world's greatest programmer, okay, what do you have to show for it? Nothing. No, not really anything. I cannot look into your mind and see that you're the world's greatest programmer. You have to show me. And having your stuff in a game mod shows me that you understand games, you've done something for games, and you have a pretty picture, you have a script code, or you have a network code in there. We know you can do it. It's much easier for me to hire you if I know that you can do it. If I don't know you can do it, I have to take a guess. Yeah, do games. So how to get started? Oh, sorry, I already showed this. How to get started? First of all, just get a game mod. Play it. Have a good time. Get some more mods. Play them. See what's cool about them. And compare them to the original game. Did they do a good job or did they not do a good job? Why? Why was it bad? Why was it good? Just play them for starters before you start doing anything else. Learn where there are projects that are active. It's better to get started in a project that there's a lot of guys working on, it's going forward. Do something little there, just to get started. Then take on more responsibility, but get started. And you know, you're gonna fail so many times that it's gonna look like a child learning to walk. You're gonna go, Daddy, I can walk. Daddy, I can. And it's gonna hurt your nose. You're gonna hurt your pride. You put your first games character model on the side and everybody goes, that sucks monkey balls. And you're like, You know, I tried to be a programmer. I tried to do graphics, and I suck monkey balls, seriously. And luckily, I'm not doing any of that. But it felt really bad saying that, sorry, guys, but you just don't have the skills. Okay, then I learned I can do something else, but don't get discouraged. Try. That's the only way to learn. If you want to study, go study. There are great game courses in Finland, in UK, in United States, but I don't think it's mandatory yet. We have hired people that have gone through game-related training in schools, and it's good. I would compare it so that if you are a diamond, a rough diamond, we will hire you anyway. If you go to school, you might be a better, more polished diamond. But if you don't have it inside of you, if you don't want to do games, the school is not going to turn you into a games developer. So do games, do mods. Read Gamma Sutra, read IGDA, read Game Dev, read CD Talk, read Flipcode, whatever it's your thing. There's so much available online. You don't need to buy a single Poog. You can get everything online for free. Read game reviews. How many of you read game reviews for the fun of it? Excellent. Play those games. Play those games. Isn't it cool? I'm asking you to play games. Seriously. If you want to be in games, you need to understand what kind of games there are. What's cool about this game? Why does it make me want to play this game? Why? Is the art good? Is the physics code good? How can they do that? Think about it. Don't just play it. Look behind it. How does it work? Can I find more information? Can I perhaps get some art out of this game and look how it's done? You can find so much information if you just start looking. And I think you shouldn't just do games. Games are entertainment. Movies are entertainment. Music is entertainment. Books are entertainment. If you want to do entertainment, you need to understand what people want, because we are competing for the same time. that people spend with movies, they spend with their friends in a restaurant. At the end of the day, it's a decision. Do I want to play Guitar Hero or do I want to play guitar? Well, I cannot play guitar, so Guitar Hero is better for me. But understand, what do people want? Why do we want to play games? And then do this stuff. You can do demo scene stuff. I really love hiring demo scene people, so they're very good. But even better is game mods people. And get involved. If in Finland, get to the IGDA monthly pub meetings. Talk to people. You might get to know somebody who will help you. Okay, well, basically this is the part of the presentation. If you're not yet looking for a job, but you want to look for a job in 2, 3, 4 years' time, this is what I ask you to do. The rest of this presentation, I will talk about how to do well when you are actually looking for a job. So when you have done all of this, actually when you've done all of this, you won't be looking for a job because people will be looking for you. You've probably been employed halfway through this. Seriously, if you do all of this stuff, somebody's probably hired you before you get to me. So I'm going to be very sorry. But that's life. So, okay. Now for a bit of a fun. Oh, actually, I will first show you for a couple of slides. Okay. Do your research. If you want to work at a company, if it's not McDonald's, if it's a games company or any company in the world, if you want to work there, do your research. So, what kind of jobs are there? What kind of job do I want? Who is offering these jobs? And if they're offering the job, what is this company about? What have they done? And for the love of God, play their games. Seriously. If you come to Bugbear after this presentation and apply for a job and you haven't played Flat Out 2, I'm just going to whoop your ass and sit you in front of TV and let you play the game and come back another day. Because it's an insult to come and you haven't played their games. Please.
Was it a promise?
Well, whooping your ass is a promise.
Have you played Flat Out 2?
Yeah, I guess we can do that. But seriously, I have had people come to me and say, I asked, have you played our games? No. Okay, it's like you go to Steven Spielberg. I want to work for you. Have you seen any of my movies? No. It makes me feel like that you don't care where you want to work. You don't really care. I just want a job. Well, I don't want somebody who just wants a job. I want somebody who wants me. Us, our company. I want you to want us. I want you to desperately want to work with us. I want you to be an involved member of our company. If you don't play our games, why would you be a good team member? Why would you be involved? Why would you be passionate? Why would you care if you don't even care to play our games? Would you like making them then? Anyway, you need to also understand if their games are good or bad. Especially if they're bad, can you make them better? If they're good, can you make them even better? They're gonna ask you, if you say, yes, you played the games, how did you like them? Immediately after. Be prepared to answer that question. Do you know somebody there? Talk to them. Do they treat their people well? Do they crunch like hell? Do they pay a very bad salary? Don't ask Bugbear people. Anyway, that was a lousy attempt to joke. Anyway, do you understand what they want? And do you fit in? Okay, before we go into, actually, yeah, I'm going to show you one more slide. Okay. Email your application. It's the world of digital communications. Don't send me a letter. I don't want a letter. I have Outlook. I can put your letter there in the right place. If I get like a mail with a CD-ROM, I'm like, this ain't 1990s. You're out of date. Don't mail me anything. Email me. And I trust that everybody else also wants to do that too. Just roughly, short email. Don't write 2 pages. this much text. Hi, I'm looking for a job because I love your games and I think I can make them better because I do great network code. And I've done this previously here and here. Here's my resume, here's my cover letter, you can read more about me here. I would love to be in an interview. Nothing more. I can read your cover letter, your resume. Don't send HTML shit code. No. Just plain text. And follow up. You know, I'm quite busy. People call me up and I might forget. It's not rude to call me. Please call me, show you're interested. So, email, simple, plain, follow up. If you don't get an answer, follow up again. If you don't get an answer, follow up again. Until you get an answer. Well, 10 times is roughly enough. You can take a hint then. But sometimes it takes a long time for the companies to move. For example, I think I have 6 people in my interview queue, but I'm here speaking instead of interviewing them. So if you applied for Bugbear, apologies, I'm doing assembly. I did email everybody saying that I'm going to get back to you once I have this done. But sometimes they don't have time to email you. So seriously, get back to them and ask them where you're going. Okay, how many of you, if you're looking for a job, have done an online portfolio? Ever? Oh dear. Okay, I don't have an example of good online portfolio for me with here, but even if you're a programmer, yes, even if you're a programmer, do a web page for yourself. A professional looking web page with the stuff you've done, links to those stuff, easily downloadable. If it's an old stuff that doesn't run anymore, please do a video of it, for example. Make it easily accessible. If you want me to hire you, make it easy for me to learn what you've done. If you do the designkikkeli.com stuff, like the link's there and it goes away when you try to change it with your mouse, it's like running away. I'm like, okay, done, next. Seriously, I've seen stuff like, you click on a link and it doesn't work. What does that make me think? You haven't tested your stuff. Are you going to make good stuff if you don't even test your job application? You're looking for money from me and you don't even test your links. So this is very rudimentary, but it gives you a bad impression of somebody if you don't do your homework before you send your application. If you put a link in your email, make sure the link works. And before you send the email yourself and make sure it looks nice and all kind of that kind of stuff. You get only one chance at your first impression, so make it count. Okay, before we go to the job interview, I'm gonna show you some YouTube stuff. What not to do on a job interview.
What do you consider to be your major strengths?
Cookies! Extreme self-confidence.
What do you consider to be your biggest weakness?
I have to go pee.
Maybe I don't work quite as hard as I should sometimes.
Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
I see myself as a ravishing sheep herder on Bear Butt Mountain.
Get high.
Starting salary do you expect?
I'd sure like to make some real good money.
You get what you paid for,
What can you do for us?
Your mom?
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Ha ha ha. No fun, right? No fun, right?
So, it's actually interesting. I had a programmer interview for me once, and he was very nervous. He was really, really nervous. He came to the room, there was me and the managing director. We started talking to him, asked, what's your name, and how are you doing, and he just started going red, seriously red, and he couldn't speak a word. He was so scared. He was really uptight. We actually were worried he's not breathing anymore. We asked him questions, he was like, So it's really bad because he might have been a brilliant programmer. But I cannot hire him because I'm afraid that he won't talk to anybody else and he's going to just shit himself when the shit hits the fan. So if you're scared, that's okay. I understand you're nervous. I do it every week. You do it once in your lifetime, possibly, or a couple of times. But people are going to ask you the standard questions. What are you good at? Those same questions you saw there. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you good at? How would you work at this company? Mentally prepare. Think about it. What are you good at? You're going to get that question every single time. I don't want a ready answer. If you sound like you're speaking from paper, I don't believe you. But get to know yourself at least so much so you can tell me if you have a weakness. And if you say that I don't have a weakness, well, then there's your weakness, just their arrogance. And if you are really scared, have somebody ask you questions. You can find these online sites where you get this kind of information, what kind of questions typically asked. But have your friend ask you questions, or have your neighbor ask you questions if you're really scared. But don't come to the interview fearing that you won't be able to say a word, because you don't want to spoil all that hard work by not being able to speak. And yes, play those games again. Bring your portfolio. Print your resume and look clean, for the love of God. If you smell like you haven't had a shower for 2 weeks, I might not just occupy you because you might be a health hazard. It's like, and use a deodorant. This is for all the programmers. But you don't need a suit. You actually even shouldn't put on a suit, because then I'm going to think that you don't fit to the company, because nobody really wears a suit in games. Okay, at the interview, be precise. Don't be too early. I have people coming here 30 minutes early. I'm like, I'm still doing other stuff. And now I need to interrupt myself, get you seated, get you some coffee or whatever, because I don't have a secretary to take care of you. It's rude. Come on time. If you're early, go have a coffee. If you're late, call me. Or call somebody to let them know that you're late. But be on time. Try to relax. And if you are in an interview, and it's like this, me talking, and you raising your hand once or twice, do you know what's wrong with that? We are not communicating. Interview is a wrong word. It actually should be a discussion. Because I want to learn that you can communicate with me. I want to learn that you have opinions. I want to learn that you're an interesting person with interesting ideas. Ask me questions. Make a list of questions you want to know. And if they don't say to you that, do you have any questions, before you go, by the way, I would like to understand a couple of things about your company. It shows your interest. It shows you're proactive. Make those questions in advance and come to the interview and say, oh, by the way, I've heard that you're working on next-gen game. Can you tell me anything about it? Probably they can, but maybe they will. If you don't ask any questions, it feels like that, okay, well, you know, whatever. Ask me questions. I'm happy to answer. If you don't know about the company, how many people do we have? Ask me. Sometimes I forget to do the company presentation before we start, so you might not even get it from me because I might be in a hurry. So please ask me. Ask me to do the company presentation. I'll be happy to, unless I'm really busy, but then I'm going to tell you that I'm busy. But don't worry about it. Talk, ask questions, and be honest. It's going to come out anyway, and in Finland you have 4 months of this kind of a probation time in the beginning of the employment, up to 4 months, and you can fire anybody for any reason during that time. It's going to come out eventually. So don't do yourself any favors by lying. It doesn't help. So be honest. And typically you're so bad liars that even I would be able to tell it. So just be honest. It's better. And every games company wants people who are going to stick with them for a long time and who will learn stuff and get better. If you can demonstrate that this is where I was 2 years ago, bring that bad picture, and this is where I am today. Look, and I did these things to get there. I'm going to be like, whoa. I haven't actually had anybody do that to me so far, because they only saw the new stuff, because it's the best. But if you can show that you can get better in 2 years from shit to greatness, I'm gonna be like, How much? Can you start tomorrow? Okay, follow up. Don't forget to follow up. If they say that they're going to get back to you in a week, and you don't hear back in 2 weeks, or actually a week and 2 days probably, you should call. Things happen, we are busy, the publisher makes a sudden request and we are just doing something and we forget. Call us, email me. If you promise to deliver me something, always, always deliver me that something. It doesn't have to be the same day, but preferably the next day if possible. If you fail me on this, on a simple request like, oh, I have this one great picture and I will email it to you. If you do not, I will remember, and I will think that you're not responsible. And if you don't get an answer, if they cannot say something that, oh, it takes you a little bit more while, after a while you can get the hint. But the thing is, with a lot of companies, things change that they might actually need you, but they don't need you now. And if they tell you flat out no, they're afraid that then you will never apply again. And no today doesn't mean no tomorrow. You should remember that. It might be that there's a better applicant, you were good, but there was somebody better, or things changed. But no doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply again in a year's time, in 6 months, if you get better, or if you have a new position. So no is typically, it's a maybe, but not now. So don't take it too personally. It's not, might be that somebody's better. What else? Well, in summary, play games, do games, get involved, do your research, be proactive in the interview and follow up, show that you're valuable and able to learn, and then I'm going to advertise, but that's basically it. So paid advertisement is we're looking for people, and now you know how to get a job at Bugbear. So it's going to be very easy for you. But I think that's roughly it. If you want to do games, you should definitely do games. It will tell you whether you want or not, or whether you don't want it. And that's so valuable. You don't spend your life doing something you don't want. It's the best advice I can give you. And with that, I'm finished, and I thank you for listening to me, and I'm open for your questions right now. So please shoot. Yes?
How did demo scene influence your job?
Demo scene factors a lot in a job. Yes. The question is, how does demo scene affect the job interview? For us, because I think 60–70% of Bugbear comes from some sort of a demo scene background. It's very important because we understand what kind of things people do there. However, my perfect candidate would be, apart from game modders, would be a demo scener with some other experience, like either industry, like doing some professional stuff, or in schools. And I'll tell you why. Demo sceners are a wacky bunch. They might be really good, or they might just work on an inspiration and just hack things together. If you're a demo scener, I want to understand that you have a good attention span, that you do long projects, and you can do involved stuff. If you just do a 4K intro in 3 years and then you do another, it would be very good to see that you either done a real job or you've gone to a university or something, because that really helps you go from the pure hacking into a more organized working method. But demo scene is a great way to learn these things. Yes. Other questions? Yes, please.
About sources for studying.
Yes.
For example, if I would like to make a mod for a game,
Yes.
what would be the best way to learn something? Okay, like C++ in 21 days a book.
Okay. So the question is resources. I don't have a comprehensive list for each and every discipline, but I think it's you go to the particular forum. If you're a programmer, you go to gamedev.net or Flipcode, and you ask in the forums, if I don't want to do games programming, what would be a good book? I don't know. They know. So get involved with the people who do this stuff in those forums, and you can ask, okay, or better yet, do the search first. It's probably asked so many times already. Yes, next question. You're a great Finnish audience, no questions. Excellent. Okay, how much time do we have left? 4 minutes, excellent. I think I need to wrap because the next guy is going to come up. Oh, there's one final question. Question is, at Bugbear Entertainment, how many people have probably a degree? We are educated at least in the lower school, I hope. I do. I would say probably half. Especially the programmers, what happens is they enroll in the university because they're so freaking good, they can get in very easily. Especially for Helsinki University, if you're good in math and physics, you get in. And then they start doing programming, and they just, the school just dies. So for me, in hiring decisions, an academical degree will show you that you will complete what you started. However, a game mod will show me also that you complete what you started. I will value skills from academical and other degrees, but I will also value practical demonstration of those skills. So a pure degree, if you just come out of school and you have a degree, and you've done nothing games related, why should I hire you? Okay, I'm sorry, but I need to wrap, and there's going to be somebody else here next. But what I'll do is, those of you who want to ask me questions about getting a job in games, I'm going to meet you outside this hall on the MBNet stand to the left if you want to ask me personally any questions, so we can let the next guys get started. So with that, I thank you for coming to listen to this presentation. I hope you have a great ASM. Thank you.